Hey, what's up, everyone? So Bitcoin did pull back yesterday, but it's currently seeing a bounce, and this shouldn't be surprising. This area of support has been discussed multiple times, and it's pretty significant for Bitcoin to hold this. It was not surprising that we tested down to this. After we broke this support right here, I had mentioned this a few times to my Patreons. I've mentioned it on Twitter. I mentioned it on YouTube, that this would not be surprising. And actually, in the recent video on Patreon, I had discussed this exact scenario where we would see a pullback to the 60K area while Bitcoin was around 63K and then a bounce. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like this during the week where the price bounces to the 60K level, but then is somehow able to recover in the green. Something like that would not surprise me. So we're currently seeing that. We got the test down to the 60K level. We went below it, but we closed above it on the daily time frame. So if you're interested, I have the Patreon right here. It's in my Twitter. But overall, so what does Bitcoin need to do now? What does Bitcoin need to do now? That's probably the question, right? So really, it needs to close in the green at some point above this weekly in order to make bullish divergence. So if this red weekly were to close below this right here, this little area, around 61.4K, it would negate the chance at bullish divergence. But if we can close above it or even close this green or this weekly candle in the green, then we would have an opportunity to create bullish divergence. And that's ultimately what we're looking for long term. So that's what Bitcoin needs. It needs to make bullish divergence here. It's currently above support. I'm going to show you the Bollinger Bands. Let me go to that. Bollinger Bands are starting to get tight, actually. And if you look at the Bollinger Band width, it's getting pretty tight now. Like it's getting to this lower area. So there's a lot of pent up, demand or volatility that's likely going to be incoming that we have not seen. And I know like this move down for a lot of people was probably significant, but I don't think like just based on the Bollinger Bands on the weekly, like if you look back here when they were this tight, we had this gigantic move after that basically led from 25K all the way up to 70K. And I'm not saying we're going to see a move of that magnitude, but usually when it gets down to this area, like look down here also, down in November of 2022, we saw the drop off the FTX and then the continuation, Bollinger Bands expanded from there and we saw more volatility. So there hasn't been a lot of volatility, and now the Bitcoin Bollinger Bands are definitely tight. So it won't last forever, that's for sure. We know that Bitcoin is a very volatile asset, and we haven't seen the move, and I don't think the direction of this move has been chosen. I still maintain that we are in a consolidation that's in an uptrend, so the likelier outcome of this consolidation would be a continuation of the uptrend. I'm going to go to Ethereum. Let me remove the Bollinger Bands. Ethereum, basically same thing. Holding support. It broke out, didn't hold this support right here, broke back down, and is now holding support. We want to see the support hold, and then we want to see it bounce from here. And ultimately, if we can reclaim this 3,700 area, that would be extremely good sign for Ethereum. I think it would likely lead to a test of the annual highs up here at 4,000, maybe even a test of all-time highs after. The Ethereum ETF is rumored to be listed within a week now, by July 2nd. It could actually happen at any day. So that would be a very long-term bullish catalyst, in my opinion. I think there will be demand for the Ethereum ETF. And for some reason, I think a lot of people are going to say, like, why is Ethereum not, pushing into the ETF? I think there's a lot of people that are afraid that there's going to be no demand for the Ethereum ETF. And if you recall with the Bitcoin ETF, people actually expected the same thing. It wasn't to like this degree. But I do think like a lot of people are scared kind of that there's going to be like no demand. It'll be a sell the news, which I don't think it will be. I think there will be demand, and I don't think BlackRock and all these ETF issuers would have applied for the ETF if they thought there was going to be no demand. I think there's probably going to be demand that will actually surprise people. I mean, I could be wrong about it, but I don't think they would have bothered with the ETF product if they didn't think there was going to be demand. And that's just, I said the same thing about Bitcoin, and that turned out to be right. And I'm going to stick with that stance for the Ethereum ETF. I think there'll be inflows. And yes, there probably will be grayscale outflows and grayscale selling, like with the Bitcoin one, because there's a grayscale Ethereum product. But that will only be temporary. It won't last forever. There's only a certain amount they could actually sell. So we'll see what happens the rest of the week, and we'll see if Ethereum and Bitcoin can get weekly candles closes in the green or back into the green after this pullback.